Hi, and welcome to this new episode of the Lightleaders. Today I have Shane Sterling joining us again. You've been in two of the episodes, and today we're going to cover a bit more of the spiritual aspect of who is Shane, the business he's building, and also financial freedom, communities, creating new kinds of society, and then also masculinity, relationships. So that will be in the chapter. So if you want to, as a listener, to go to a specific section, you can go straight to the chapters. And welcome, Shane, to the show. I'm super happy to have you. So Shane's been on two podcasts. One was really about diet, being a raw vegan, and you can learn all about that on the podcast. Then there was an amazing conversation with Eli and Marty and Professor Spira. So I'll put the link in the show notes. And to the listener, if you want to support, you can like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and of course to Shane's channel too. There'll be the links also. Shane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alex. My pleasure to be here at your service. I hope what we covered today and talk about is helpful for someone listening today. That's my prayer and my highest aspiration and mission with this conversation today is that we help people, we inspire people, we uplift people, we provide value for people. So that's my hope, and glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I think this came from, I remember the conversation on more raw vegan parts. Well, you talked about, okay, when you think of someone who inspires you, you want to look at kind of the broader picture, maybe not just the nutrition or just the financial aspect. And you're one of the people, Shane, that I find very inspiring on many aspects, you know, from the health to how you run your business to like also having a spiritual connection. So that's why I was curious. I've seen so many of your videos and of your interviews about diet, but I know you do a lot, much more than that. And so I wanted to do this interview specifically, not so much about diet, actually. It might come in, but that's not the main purpose. My first question to you, Shane, is what are you grateful for today?
Oh, well, I'm grateful for the amazing place we are in today's world. Humanity and society has more abundance, more comfort, more access, more technology, more access to wealth. We have the opportunity to create more wealth for ourselves in today's world than we've ever had in the history of the world. And some people look at the world and say the world's messed up. I look at the world and say, I've never seen so much opportunity in the history of all of humanity. What's the difference there? The difference is our outlook on the world, our mind, and our thoughts. So I am grateful for our society, exactly where it is today, in all of its aspects, in all of its assets. There is nothing that I would change, because exactly as it is provides me with incredible abundance, wealth, health, access to food, access to investing, access to money, access to an incredible lifestyle. I couldn't be more grateful. It's an amazing time to be alive. And I'm really in awe every single second at what I have available to me at my fingertips.
That's beautiful. Are you also very grateful to be in a world where there's so much kind of junk food consumption around?
Yeah, I mean, it all leads us to our own awakening. So we can't just have awakening. We have to have something to contrast it. We have to have suffering. We have to have our own existential crisis, our own dark night of the soul, to see the contrast that leads to our awakening. So not everybody's going to make it. Some people are going to stay in the slumber, in the existential crisis their whole life. That's just how life goes and how the cookie crumbles. But for those of us who are awake and on our awakening journey, striving to be the best version of ourselves, not accepting less than amazing as good enough for ourselves, for those people, for us, yeah, we are going to find the path one way or another. It doesn't matter how much junk food consumption, how much negativity, how much blaming there is on the planet. Ultimately, we're going to find the path. The divine interventions will happen that lead us to our divine destiny. I think some of us I'll speak for myself, but I know I'm not alone. It's almost like it doesn't matter what we do, we're going to be shaken, awake, and shown the path we have to take, whether we like it or not. A lot of us go kicking and screaming. A lot of the lessons of life that are the most powerful are the most uncomfortable. So I'm at this point in my life, I'm 50 years old. I've come to just accept the uncomfortable lessons of life when they come. Certain lessons are uncomfortable. There's no way around it. It forges us in the fire of life. And so we should really look at adversity as an opportunity to see the reflection of ourself more accurately, because that's all that it is. There is no state of the world outside of our own perception, but what we're really seeing is ourself. This is not spiritual woo-woo stuff. This is literally what it is. When we see the world a certain way, we will see it reflected in the world. When we look outside, we're really looking inside, and vice versa. So then the question becomes, how are we seeing ourselves, and how is that then reflected in society? Are we happy with the way we see ourselves? If we see problems in the world, we're really just seeing the reflection of the problems of ourselves, where we are kind of unhealed. And I've come to understand that it's really where we're not applying ourselves. So if we see a problem like junk food you mentioned, this is an area that we're most likely not applying our gifts, our spiritual gifts, our awareness. Because see, look, everybody has a special awareness that they're gifted by the universe. And oftentimes that awareness makes us feel different, like we don't fit in, like we don't belong, like we're going against the grain. It's the in-between worlds that I call it. And where we don't fit in, where we exist in these in-between worlds, we feel shame around it because we don't fit in, and we have to kind of like be in this unknown part of ourselves. But that's the area of our power. That's where our gifts are. That's where our insight is, and our authority. That's the seat of our soul, right there in the in-between worlds. So our real challenge in life, and our duty and our work as spiritual leaders, as people who are committed to making a difference in the world, leaving the world a better place, is to apply the knowledge from the in-between worlds to the service that we bring to the world. How are we going to help? So instead of saying, I see a problem, we have to turn it back on ourselves and say, how am I going to help? And when we do that, something miraculous happens. This is what's changed my life, and why I'm so grateful to be at the step I am at my life, is that we realize that what we do, what we can do, is enough. Now, that's more powerful than you might realize, because part of the great pain of life is feeling small and insignificant, like we can't make a difference, like our life is insignificant. But the exact opposite is true. When we apply ourselves from the in-between world, from the place we don't fit in, from our deepest shame, that's when we feel the great alleviation. The pressure alleviates off of our shoulders. When we apply from there, it's enough. And we feel that resolution, we feel that alignment. And that's what makes us powerful. That's what makes us at peace. That's why we can look at one person and we see stress and discomfort and unrest in their soul, in their nerves. And we can look at another person and see deep contentment, deep understanding. It doesn't change the fact that the world is what it is. It's the way we're applying ourselves, and therefore the way we see ourselves, and therefore the way we see the world. So applying ourselves is the lifeline to our own self-reflection, and then therefore our experience of life itself. So it's very important. And it all comes down to service. How are we being of service? That's the key. And service is really the answer we're all looking for. A lot of young men out in the world are struggling to find their way, find financial stability. A man is supposed to earn, protect, provide. And yet it's hard for a young man to find that stability. A lot of young men struggle with that. And it's because we have to be of service, and not just servant, not just be selfless. Selflessness is not service, but applying our greatest gifts. And what do we have to do that? And this is why what younger men don't get it often is because we have to face our fears to accomplish that. We have the thing that we fear the most is that shame part of ourself where we don't fit in the in-between worlds. That's where we've got to dig deep and meet our own needs when we feel desperately that the world should meet our needs, like we are owed something. But really, that's just a reflection of where we are supposed to give. So the great old adage of give what you want to get comes into play here. We have to give that which we want to get. If you want to be a millionaire, you got to help others become millionaires. If you want to be healthy, you got to help other people become healthy. If you want to be highly empowered in your life and be at the top of your game and just feel at peace and harmony and beauty and abundance around you, you've got to help other people have that. That's the solution. And then we feel that great alleviation. We realize everything's right with the world. The mechanics of the universe, natural law work perfectly every time as they have for eons of time. There is no problem. It's just that we have to understand how to work the machine. We got to learn how to ride life. And when that happens, we become free. We find our empowerment and we become the people we've always felt destined to be.
Oh. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I will share a few reflections on it. There's a phrase I like to say is, if you feel like you don't fit into this world, it's because you came here to create a new one.
Exactly. Yes. Perfect. That's absolutely right. Yep. And I struggled with that a lot in my life, in all my youth, in my teens and 20s and 30s, and even into my 40s. I really was still in a victim mindset where the world was happening to me and I was in reaction to the world. But in my mid 40s, actually at the age of 44, it flipped. That's when I said, enough, I can't take it anymore. This world is so messed up that I'm going to just give myself in service to help. And that's where, out of desperation, out of like a Hail Mary pass, I don't know what else to do anymore. I decided to create a business around helping people reach internal purification of the mind, body, and soul, like self-empowerment, detoxification, raw food, being vegan. I started with being vegan, actually. That was my entry point. I said, I have to help people go vegan. And that blossomed into my raw food journey and my detoxification coaching, which has been so successful. It's led to my business coaching. And now I actually run a membership called Raw Vegan Heroes. We have thousands of members, thousands of people in my membership who are all there supporting each other and creating community and connection and this huge network of people from all over the world. And that has led to financial stability and empowerment in my life. And then I take that.
So Shane, I mean, I guess it relates, but that will be for the next chapter.
You want to save that? Okay, you want to save that. All right, that's fine.
I just wanted to close a bit more on the spirituality first, and another reflection I wanted to share when you talk about selflessness. And overall, I asked you this because I just wanted to see that you understand before we go deeper than in other conversation, as a foundation, the perfection of the world as it is, the oneness, and I can feel you're super connected to that. I mean, even the fact that without the junk food, you wouldn't have so much of a purpose. And so that's why I asked you if you were grateful for it, because like there's such a blessing in it from a higher perspective. And
that's right.
And so, it's for me, it's really interesting to see, like, you're very interesting in a way that you can be very assertive on the things you think are right and the things you want to change, almost in a little bit of an activist way. And at the same time, in the world of activism, I see a lot of misery of people who feel small, who feel angry at the world. And so it's beautiful to see that you have both, like you're at the same time in that line of, okay, that's how I want to improve things and be assertive about it and not just be like, oh, everything's perfect, whatever, and at the same time be connected to the perfection of it all and kind of the game of it all.
Yeah, it's a paradox, Alex. It's a paradox. And that's why it's very puzzling for a lot of people. And a lot of people maybe never really embrace the paradox in their lifetime. And it's a great gift to see the paradox and to work with it. And you're exactly correct that the problems in the world are there to serve. And when we serve, we kind of alleviate the problem. So we have to be deeply connected to the problem in activism, because we have to apply ourselves as if our life depended on it. And at the same time, when we do that from the right place within ourselves, it actually alleviates the stress and the pressure. And that's one way we can see if someone is in the right action. And that's why I don't really call myself an activist, because I'm not stressed out about it. Although I am deeply an activist, because there are problems I'm here to solve. And if I don't understand the problem, I can't apply myself to the problem. So I have to feel the problem deeply, but then ultimately relax and be grateful for the problem so that I have a way to apply myself in the world. And that's the paradox. And it's beautiful and painful at the same time.
And yeah, that's beautiful. Talking about paradox, also another thing that I was reflecting upon was when you talked about selflessness, and I've been reflecting on, like, when you live in oneness, actually selfishness and selflessness, they actually merge, because to me it feels like whatever serves me serves the whole, and what serves the whole serves me. So it's like I feel that's also kind of a paradox, but in the end they merge.
Yeah, it is a paradox as well. A lot of people on my social media channels make comments like, who are you to talk about that? You know, who are you? Kind of questioning or trying to tear down my authority to speak on any given topic. I mean, of course, we all get that on social media, right? But really, it's, you know, the pain that I experience in my own life gives me the authority to talk about it. And I've come to understand that my pain is not just my pain. It's a universal pain. We're all here together experiencing the oneness. So I've learned, deeply embodied it, that any pain that I'm experiencing is a collective pain. So therefore, if I speak into it, if I own it, if I love it, if I serve it, that I'm serving the whole. I'm serving the collective. So therefore, if we're really coming from that place, we can never do wrong, because we are in the servant's heart. And therefore, we do have the authority. We have the authority to speak with conviction, because we are the collective. We are the one. So my pain is your pain, and it is my authority to speak on my pain. And if we deeply trust that my pain is also experienced by others, it gives us a great permission to be outspoken and to get out of our own way, to be of service more. Getting out of our own way is actually very difficult to do, because we want to be liked, we want to fit in, we want to find our place in the world, we want to be appreciated, loved, and praised. But ultimately, we can't be praised or criticized. They're just projections of others onto us. It's only our own ability to act from within with a servant's heart to solve the pain that we feel that means anything. And if we're in action, we've done enough, like I've said. So praise and criticism are meaningless to me. And I'm grateful for any comment, praise, or criticism that comes in on social media, because it boosts the algorithm, right? But I don't look for praise or feedback that corroborates my perspective or validation. I do not look for it at all. And people might misunderstand that. I do believe that's an integral part of my success, because I'm not looking for feedback from the world to validate me. I have validated myself, and I am going to continue to validate myself and give myself the authority to speak. So I'm not looking for an institution, another individual, or any kind of social construct to validate me. And I call that radically self-referencing. That's the word I use. I'm radically self-referencing.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting. I mean, to me, it's also like wouldn't be anyone, but there are a few people that I think ultimately they're me anyway. So if you're not in separation, it's just another version of you that you manifest through your consciousness. But then through their feedback, I find sometimes some people I value their opinion, and it's not that I seek validation, but it's more that yeah, I think it can be useful depending on choices. But for me, it is to sometimes rely on those mirrors also to see more clearly.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. I have thousands of clients at different levels of investment. People invest thousands of dollars with me for coaching and mindset support, and people invest small amounts with me for coaching and mindset support. And for me, I'm not there to be their friend. They're not hiring me to reflect back what they think they need to hear. They're hiring me to give them an accurate reflection back of their own blind spots. And therefore, my job is not to validate them or be their friend. And it's a difficult situation to be in, because sometimes I have to speak honestly with disruptive feedback. And I have to do that with incredible compassion and love, because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And yet, if I don't offer direct, disruptive, honest feedback, I'm not helping them. You know, so in a way, that was only possible through my own internal reference system. And I can take in information, I can hear what they're saying, I can listen, I'm a good listener. But ultimately, we have to have that own authority to say, look, this is just my perspective. I'm holding up a mirror to you, like it or not. And some people get very upset, and some people, it changes their life for the better forever. And they'll message me years down the road and say, Shane, it changed my life working with you. You said this one thing to me one time and it changed everything. You know, that's the power we have when we offer honest feedback, almost as if, you know, we were speaking to a toddler. You know, like we love our children as we rear children. We love them with unconditional, compassionate love, but sometimes their behavior is out of alignment with their own good. And so that's what I strive to do in my communication on my platforms, on my social media, when I make YouTube videos or with my clients. I really strive to just say it like it is, not candy coat it. And some people are going to love it and some people are going to hate it. I'm going to get praise and criticism. It doesn't matter. My only job is to speak authentically from my perspective of truth, because that's the only place of perspective I have. And so that's what I call getting out of my own way, as being committed to helping people with love and compassion, even if it hurts their feelings.
Yeah. So talking about that, when we did the interview with Eli and Spira, I found you like, and maybe, you know, it's that tough love that you talk about, but I found you a little bit harsh when you were talking about people who tried to be raw vegan and then stopped. And I'm not like, maybe I'm not quoting you well, but it was a lot about like being weak, or it was because they didn't want to be different from people. But I feel I know people who have really tried. I feel like they've done like 21-day water fast, they've done 3 years raw vegan, and they ended up really not feeling good. And they went into like some, like as conscious as they could as eating meat, and they felt better. I know some people like here in Ubud, there's a lot of people who like most restaurants are vegan and there's a big vegan culture. And I know a lot of people who I feel have genuinely tried, and for whom, at least for that time, it like they really wanted and it didn't work. And I felt was I don't know, like, what's your stance on that?
They didn't want it enough to make the transition fully, and they gave themselves an out. They had a back door the whole time. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do with ourselves in every area of life. Otherwise, we would have those higher caliber results in our life. We would have $1 million in the bank. We would, you know, have ways of eating that didn't afflict suffering and confinement and, you know, that unconsciousness on other sentient beings. Of course, we don't want that. People do it because they have, you know, there's a conditioning psychologically, which is very hard to overcome, but then the physical aspect is also very hard to overcome. And they do work in tandem. But if somebody wants something enough, they will have it. And it's not a matter of the physicality at that point. It's a matter of what the mind decides it's going to have. And the mind is much more powerful than the body. But if the mind has a back door, if the mind says, well, if it gets this hard, then I'm going to call it quits at that threshold, that's it. There's no winning. There is no success.
There's like a few people online, like for example, Tim Schiff, he was all about like being a vegan athlete. Or then Robert Cassa, I think he did like 15 years raw vegan or something. And at some point they're like, okay, it really didn't work and I needed to change. I feel these people like really wanted it to work. And even
I don't see that at all.
Yeah.
I don't see that at all. Not even close. With those two examples you gave, Tim Schiff and Robert Kazar, they took on the persona, but they didn't actually do it from the point of their own self-reference. I think they were interested in the persona, and they saw value in the persona of adopting that lifestyle for whatever reason. I don't know, because I'm not them, but I do know that if they needed to have that result for themselves, they would be still to this day. They didn't need that result past what it gave them. They got the value that they went into it for, and then they saw value in something else, and they shifted gears because that was going to provide the next threshold of value to them. Has nothing to do with trying or not trying, because there is no trying. It's either doing or not doing. So you either are or you're not. There's really no in between. That's what I'm saying. The back door is insidious, and we give ourselves an out. The mind creates the reality. The mind is 100% of what will produce the results. So if we're not producing the results, then what is it that's not producing the results? It's the mind. Why? Why is the mind not producing the results of, say, a lifelong of raw vegan diet? Because there's some other value that the mind is distracted by or placed on. The mind will always create exactly what it must have. And so there's other areas we can see that, though. Like, if we take one person's life as an example, we can see, well, what is their financial stability like? Because financial stability often reflects like our own internal stability. And there's certain ways that our self-worth and the value we cultivate within ourselves will translate into the physical world. So we can look at that, we can see that in people's lives. And unless somebody has all of those in harmony, working together at a very high level and high caliber, I don't know if I would particularly make a judgment that they did or did not try. I would just look at the results simply and say, this is the result that their mind deemed worthy of them at that point. That's my perspective.
Yeah. I mean, my perspective is a balance. I feel to me, with the co-creator as the small self, like when the small self, the co-creator with the higher self. And in a way, I find that in general, I have a very good manifestation power, but at the same time, I feel that sometimes the dance with the universe is that there's a certain limitation that makes that if I become a little bit too cocky with my manifestations, let's say, the universe can humble me. And I feel that that could happen also, even in the diet. So for example, I have someone very dear to me and who's like now feeling much better since like they've had like a bit of egg and some as conscious as they can meat. And I feel like being vegan and is about non-suffering and non-violence, including violence to your own self. So if they feel much better, I'm that's not a paradigm. I mean, I'm very happy right now that I'm very grateful that I'm thriving on my raw vegan diet, but I understand kind of.
Yeah. So you use the word manifestation, which I think is an interesting word because we all use that word a lot. And manifestation is a term that often is understood as like some mystical power that we can tap into and harness that power to get results in our life. But it's still fairly mystical and still fairly misunderstood. Where the way I define manifestation is the ability to hold an image in our mind consistently and relentlessly. So when we relentlessly, unwaveringly, consistently over time, decades, an entire lifetime, hold one singular vision, that vision will manifest. It will come into the physical because when we hold a vision in our mind, the universe, it's a law of the universe to organize information around that thought form. That's why people will manifest or will not manifest seemingly out of their control, because they either are or are not fixated on a singular consciousness for an extended period of time. We can take an example of, like, I like to use the idea of making $1 million, because not a lot of people have accomplished that. If you want to make $1 million, you have to fixate on it in your mind and never let go. Now, you could come from poverty, you could come from the slums of, a third world country, or you could come from any walk of life. For you to make $1 million, you're going to have to fixate on it in your mind. And so some could construe that fixation as cocky, because you have to hold it in your mind. And that's like a plank. You have to hold a plank. You know how hard it is to plank for more than like 5 minutes? It burns, right? The same goes with our mind. If we're going to plank the $1 million in our mind, it's going to burn, and it's going to be hard, and it will test us and push us to our limits. And most people never accomplish it. They give up. But if you hold the plank in your mind long enough, you become conditioned, you become impervious to the pain and the struggle of it, and you just become fixated on the mind. That could be construed as cocky, but it's also just certainty. And certainty, with the vision that we hold, produces the results consistently 100% of the time. Like putting a program into a computer. The computer is indifferent. It doesn't matter what program you put in. It's going to produce the results you put in. And that's how we program reality with our mind. It's through the images we show ourselves. So Robert Kazar and Tim Sheaf stopped holding the vision at some point.
Do you believe you can extend that to, like, if you really like you really want to levitate, for example, on things that people deem miraculous?
Yeah, if people think something is a miracle.
Like, for example, if you think, like, you're really fixated on levitating, you think you can?
Defying the laws of physics through mental focus. That's an interesting question. I have never done that. I've never levitated, so I can't speak with personal experience on that. But I would say that based on the laws of the universe as I understand them now at this time in my life, it seems like it could be possible.
Yeah, I agree.
It could be possible. Yeah, it could be possible.
Okay.
I know that the mind has incredible power. I mean, we see that in the world. We see examples of the mind overcoming the physical body, so it's interesting to see how far we could take it, what we want to create with that. And ultimately, what I think the real issue here is, that's an extreme example, like levitating, but in the practical day-to-day, there's a real practical way for us to use that information, to use that technique of programming reality to give us the results out that we want. Most people want to fit in. And so most people will listen to the circles of influence that they're part of, because it's important as a survival strategy to be part of a community, a family, a social circle. And so we take feedback very, very, intently from our communities and our networks that we rely on for survival. So out of a survival need, we will allow the vision that we hold in our mind to shift according to the outcome we need for survival. So most people are in a survival situation. They don't have the luxury of being independently wealthy or set up in a way that where they don't have to rely on their social circle. So this is why most people get the results of the people they spend the most time with. We know this, that we have the exact same income of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And we have the health and the diet and the lifestyle of the people we spend the most time with. It's not a coincidence. That is because we literally think like they do, and we adopt the images and the patterns of thinking that they think, and we get the exact same results that they get. But anybody at any given time is perfectly capable of shifting out of that default world, survival world, and holding their own vision, no matter how fantastical, no matter how different, no matter how unique it is. And raw veganism falls into that category 100%. If you were to look at it through the lens, like everybody who attempted a raw vegan diet and failed, at some point, their social circles, the need for security and survival and significance, their need, some need within inside of them deemed it important to shift where their focus was and to adopt the principles, the beliefs, the ideals, the morals, and the values of other social circles that they thought would provide them with a more secure life. And for those who achieve a raw vegan diet, who don't fail, who can do it for an extended period of time and don't fail and have good health, what are they doing? Well, they're holding that image intently in their mind for extended periods of time. And they're just saying, well, this is what is important to me. And I don't need this social circle to validate me or to provide for me or whatever. They just are on their own track. And that's why I think we see the raw vegan community is small. And it's not very common to see successful raw vegans long term. And it has nothing to do with the food. It has nothing to do with the food. It has nothing to do with nutrition. Because yes, we have to get adequate nutrition for this vehicle, this temple, this vessel. Yes, we do need proper nutrition, but we can get that in a fully whole, raw, plant-based diet. We can get it in any version of that, as long as we're getting proper nutrition. So most people don't see the raw vegan diet and lifestyle as a worthwhile pursuit for survival. And that's all it is. It's the pursuit for survival. So that's my perspective on it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm a little bit no nonsense. It's not that I'm harsh. I'm just a realist. And I say the universe works this way. You apply and it produces. If you apply a certain frame of thinking, you will get that result. That's why I know when somebody tries a vegan diet and fails and says veganism is unhealthy, doesn't work, I struggled, I couldn't do it. It's just the output that they put in.
Yeah, I hear you. And, I don't say harsh as a judgment, but just as let's say a little bit more assertive, I would say. Yeah.
I'm assertive.
But it's good. It's also something that inspires me. So that's why.
Yeah, I'm confident 100% in what I'm saying. I will stand by it till the day I die.
Awesome. Let's move on to the business side, because we've done a fair bit on and that was amazing, But I know it's something you're really passionate about. Shane, why do you want to make money and help people make money, especially the raw vegans?
Yeah, well, because we need financial stability in our life is a reflection of our inner stability. Our self-worth is a part of how we create stability and well-being and abundance in the world. So when I see someone who's struggling financially or hasn't created financial stability for themselves, what I see is a reflection of myself and my own life experience, but that we are struggling with our own internal self-worth. Somewhere in our past, we've been disrupted from the confidence and the love of ourself through trauma and through identifying with stories, that life is hard and we're being afflicted, or that, there's different stories we tell ourselves that aren't true. And the only thing that's true is that we create our reality. And until we take the full responsibility within ourselves to create stability right here in our body, in our hearts, in our chakra system, in our consciousness, until we create stability here, we're not going to have it outside of ourselves. Some people are born with it and they have more of a entitlement to that stability. Maybe it's ingrained from their parents or their family lineage, where they're taught to feel worthy of stability. And then most of us are born into families that are taught that we're not worthy of stability. Life is chaotic and the car's always breaking down. We can't pay the bills, such and such. So I think there's a real area to help people in the area of finance and financial stability. Because look, I'm an entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 24 years old out of desperation. I didn't want to work a job. It made me feel really bad about myself to work a job for somebody else doing something I hated. I was like, wait, this cannot be it. This cannot be the answer. So I went into business for myself and struggled to make $1 at 24. I think I was able to generate maybe $300 a month on my first business back in 1993 or something like that, which was great because it was the first of many businesses to come. And so every time I start a business, apply myself to business, I realize no one is stopping me. No one is stopping me. There is not a single government There is not an institution. There is not a corporation that has it out for me to stop me. It just doesn't exist. It is up to me. If my financial stability and well-being is meant to happen in this world, it is up to me. So then I ask the question, well, what do I have to do, God? What do I have to do, universe, to have money in the bank? Well, that's been my journey. What do I have to do to have money in the bank? And that journey has been a journey of personal development that has led me to realize that it comes down to the way I think. The way I think produces the results I have. And if I need more money in the bank, I have to think differently, because the way I'm thinking is producing the exact results I have currently. So if we have financial disempowerment, last thing I'll say, if we have financial disempowerment, we are thinking poorly. And so because I know this, I want to help people think differently. And that's the premise of what I teach. I don't teach methods because people will interpret methods differently, but I teach the way you think. And that's what mentorship is. Mentorship is about relearning how to think.
Yeah. So thank you. And it's beautiful. And there's there's almost like two conversations in this. One is more where I'd like almost to, let's say, to challenge you on the why. One is more relating to money and our financial systems in the current, let's say, old paradigm. And one is more relating to the effectiveness of being an entrepreneur and solopreneurship versus organizations. On the first one is, have you gone down, I don't know, the crypto rabbit hole? Or are you educated on how money is created and the financial systems of like the US and the dollar? And like, have you got a bit into that?
Yes.
Also, yeah. And so, because usually people, when they go into the health, there's a rabbit hole, there's more rabbit hole. And I mean, just a quick question on if we have like probably similar views on the world. I'm pretty sure like you probably didn't, and you don't have to answer, but put the thing in your body that governments wanted people to put in their body and this kind of thing.
No, I don't trust the government to take care of me. That's for sure.
So, and so you saw on the money side. So for me, there is something where, like I don't like operating, at least in the fiat system and in the whole, like, because I feel like if, you know, you pay your tax, then where do they go? They don't go to big pharma, they go to creating weapons and all these things. So
it's not about that, Alex.
It's not about that. There's a part of me that has resistance towards, at least in the old system of like moving money. And that's why I'm more in the crypto and alternative systems.
So that's normal, because we're all going to look out at the world and we're going to say the world is flawed, the world is corrupt. How could I possibly participate with the world in the horrible, corrupt state that it's in currently? Everyone does that, and myself included. But that's the illusion. That's the false perspective and the false story that we tell ourselves. And depending on how deeply we believe that story is how deeply we will struggle. So what we're really doing is taking care of ourselves. We're not solving the problems of the world in the world. We can't fight fire with fire, and we can't solve problems at the level the problem was created. So what is the level that we solve problems?
Ourselves, but don't you feel karmically you're leeching some of your energies into things you don't want to support?
No, because I support thousands and thousands of people every single day.
So my the trade-off,
my business is an outward reflection of the healing that I've done in myself, right? Why else would people pay for my mentorship and my guidance and my perspective? Thousands and thousands of clients currently today. That's because I have not made anyone wrong. No one's wrong. It's only about me. I will either take care of myself, love myself, invest in myself, create stability for myself, or I won't. There's no other version of reality happening. That's it. So if you don't create stability, well-being, abundance, money for yourself, you are a victim. You're a victim of circumstance of your mind. You're a victim of thought patterns, thought forms that may or may not be real. You're believing in a phantom that you have convinced yourself is real, but maybe it isn't real. And so then, therefore, the only perspective that we shift back to is ourselves, because if we don't have stability and well-being for ourselves, we can't offer it to others and we can't help others. So in one way, we can create financial stability in a corrupt system, because that'll help more people. If we say the system is corrupt, and so I won't participate with it, then we will be on the fringe of a peripheral that actually isn't serving anyone at all, because the problem isn't on the peripheral. The problem is smack dab in the middle of where people are suffering. So I'm more committed to helping people with their limiting belief systems and the suffering that it induces than I am to being right or being liked.
I understand. The other little caveat I mean, of course, like, you know, I don't want to focus just on those little fringe things, but then financial freedom, for example, like you're probably familiar with what happened to the truckers protest in Canada, and like they got a bank account frozen, right? So in the fiat system, the financial freedom always has a limitation to the banks allowing you to move the money, or the governments.
Well, yes, there are systems that are always kind of evolving and morphing into the next system. So we moved from the industrial age to the information age approximately, you know, around the millennium, 2008. We're still shifting. It's the age of Aquarius. We're shifting into a whole new paradigm. And along with that will come a new money system based on blockchain technology. There's no question. Blockchain is going to actually liberate us from the financial control that corrupt people have. But that's not the focus, because if we say that other people are oppressing us, then we are victimizing ourselves. So if you really want to love yourself, you create financial stability for yourself in the system that is currently here, because it's here to love you. There's never been a time in history with more abundance, more access to wealth, more productivity. The GDP of Europe and America and Australia is at the all-time high in the history of the world. And we're going to sit back and complain and say the world's corrupt? Well, that's insanity. No, the world is providing us with everything we could ever dream of right at our fingertips. The only corruption is our mind. We are corrupted by the thoughts we tell ourselves, the pictures we show ourselves, and the stories we believe. That's the corruption.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and that's beautiful. I still think if people want actual financial freedom, it's good to have some diversification into non-government central.
Yes, I agree. And I am invested in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin started in 2014, so it's brand new. You know, it hasn't been around very long. So if anybody's interested to know if I invest in Bitcoin, oh, hell yeah.
And probably soon we'll be able to pay your membership in cryptos too.
Yes, that's right. Actually, I have people ask me all the time if I do take cryptocurrencies as payment. And while the infrastructure is not currently there, it will be shortly. We're going there. So, but this comes down to corruption. Look, light will always win out. Love will always win out. So where there's darkness, our only job is to shed light on the darkness, not to blame it. Like the behavior of a 2-year-old, we love the 2-year-old. We're nurturing the 2-year-old into maturity. So we don't blame the 2-year-old and say, you're corrupt for that behavior. We just simply say, we dislike that behavior. This is how a mature adult behaves. So we just correct the behavior. So whenever we see corruption or poor lack of results in the world, which would be our current financial system, we simply don't judge or blame the system. We blame the behavior, the result of the system, and then we make adjustments based on our love, our consciousness, our investment, and most importantly, our servant's heart. Our servant's heart.
And part of the realization of that is that we don't want to stay in the car that's driven by the toddler, and we want to get our own car and drive it ourselves.
Yes, and if you have created financial stability with non-centralized alternative monetary systems, Great. That's the point. Create financial stability for yourself, because that's the only way you're going to be able to help others. The analogy of like when you fly on an airplane, they tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself before on your child. Why is that? Because if you're going down, you can't help your child if you haven't helped yourself. We help ourselves first. That's how adults feel, think, and act. If you want to be an adult, an empowered individual in your life, if you want the results of stability, you start inside. And so that's what adults do. They help themselves first. It doesn't matter what the systems of the world are, what stories people are believing, or what your social circles are shoving down your throat for your mental real estate. You hold true to the truth, which is that your mental real estate is the only true asset you hold in this world. Anything that tries to take your attention is robbing you of what your true asset is. So don't watch the TV. Don't listen to anybody else's influence. If you don't have the results, your mindset is inadequate, period.
Thank you, Shane. It's my duty to tell you we've already gone slightly over 45 minutes, as you requested to do 45 minutes.
Oh, great.
However,
Thanks, Alex.
I'm really enjoying this. And there's two other topics, if you agreed, I'd love to cover. One is the more entrepreneurial kind of solopreneur journey, and one is more masculinity and relationship. But it's up to you, because
well, we talked about entrepreneurship. Yeah, let's talk about relationship. I think that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the
this will be the last leg of the conversation. Maybe we could wrap it up at the hour and we talk about relationship and masculinity and relationship. Yeah, that would be great.
Cool. And just on the entrepreneur, a slight reflection is to me, it's like it's such a beautiful path, and I've been also reflecting on how sometimes it's a bit isolated, and maybe there's some 1 + 1 = 10 in creating new paradigm organization, where maybe it's not the role of some people. Maybe you're a healer and you don't need to know accounting, you don't need to make money, you're just taken care of in that greater organization. That's something I'm working on too, but at the same time, I love the entrepreneurial journey too.
Well, yeah, and also, our conversation about the entrepreneur led to the currency and the systems that kind of run our currency system, which is not even a conversation for me at all. It's literally not a conversation for me. Yeah, I'll invest in cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I'll make a lot of fiat currency. It doesn't matter. It's a completely irrelevant conversation to me. The entrepreneurial conversation is about how are we going to serve people to provide excellent value, where the result is money in our bank account and an exceptional experience for them, to where they continue to pay for our services, they refer friends, they're extremely happy, they're extremely pleased with the results they're getting. How do we create that? That's the only question. That's what entrepreneurship is. And the way we do that is through value, through ourselves. We cultivate inner value. Now, most people, the vast majority of people on planet Earth, do not know that they have value, and therefore their life is the result of that. They don't have money, they don't have purpose, they don't have a vision, they don't know where they're going. They're waiting for life to throw them something so they can react. When we cultivate inner value, we know exactly how we can help people, because we have a solution, we have a product, we have a way to help solve people's problems. So where are we going to start with that? Well, we got to solve our own problems first to know how we could help solve somebody else's problem. It comes right back to us. Solving our own problems is the way we solve other people's problems. This is why creating financial stability for ourselves is the same in creating financial stability for the world, regardless of the financial system. So we heal the world through ourselves, not through the world. We can't go out into the world and solve the problems of the world. We solve it through ourselves. And there would be no greater solution to the flawed monetary system in the world today than to create financial security and stability for yourself in today's world, regardless of anything else. That is the healing. That's the healing. And we do that in all areas of entrepreneurship. That's the equivalent of all entrepreneurship, which is providing value where value didn't exist before. We have to invent value. We create it out of nothing. And that's where the entrepreneurial spirit comes from, and why some people are entrepreneurs and others are not. It's not that some are capable and some are not. It's simply that some are more motivated to create value out of nothing. It's like climbing a mountaintop. Yeah, it's going to be hard. There's going to be challenges along the way, but do you want that vista? I'm really committed to the vista of entrepreneurship, and I will get there no matter what. You know, throw something at me, throw me a challenge, throw me a curveball. It's not going to stop me. I'm committed 100% to creating value for others at all costs. I'm committed to their experience, not money. I'm committed to their experience. I want them to say, wow. So if I could summarize my entrepreneurial journey, it's making somebody physically gasp and say the words wow out loud involuntarily. That's my entrepreneurial journey. Can I do that? Yeah, I have. That's why I have thousands of clients. How many people are on that mission? That's what entrepreneurship is. And everybody who has a lot of money does that. So the last thing I'll say is that we can look at the world and misunderstand wealth and money. And some people are born into it and we say, well, they didn't have to work for it. They just have it. They're entitled, they're, privilege or whatever. But I'm not talking about that kind of money. What I'm talking about to you, Alex, and to the listeners today is service-based, soul purpose, next level spiritual work on this planet, the healing work on this planet, how making money is the healing of our planet. That's what I'm talking about. Money is not the problem. Money is the solution. And we have to embrace our own ability to create money to heal the poverty, the lack consciousness. So it's up to us if it's meant to be. And I'm not just talking about making money. I'm talking about soul purpose driven entrepreneurship for healing purposes. Highest level, 5D consciousness, next level business, the future of the world. That's what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm also, so another thing that inspires me in what you do from is also the like in the raw vegan world, especially, often there's that image of men being kind of either like weak and like that very hippie image and indecisive and not very masculine in the standard traits of masculinity. And with you, it's like you work out, your body shows it, also your assertiveness, your business side. So you show that, you know, it's not a diet that's going to make men like wimps or something.
Yeah. Well, also, I'm using a raw vegan diet for the results I want. I'm not a raw vegan and then hope to get the results I want. It's the other way around. I'm very fixated on the results I'm going to create, and I use raw food for the edge, for the empowerment edge. I want the clarity. I want the connection. I want the edge, even if it's 2%. The difference between eating cooked vegan, high raw, and fully raw, I want the edge. And that edge is going to help me excel, help me be better, help me do the dance with the universe at a higher caliber level. Not all are called to that, but I am. And I use 100% raw vegan diet for the results I want. That's why it's for me, I'm not looking for a raw vegan diet to give me an identity. I already have my identity. I'm looking for a raw vegan diet to give me an edge that only raw food can give me. That's the difference.
And for you, it's now you have a partner, yeah?
I do. I have an amazing raw vegan partner, and we live the raw vegan lifestyle together.
Nice. And with your ex, you told me in the first podcast, I think you have a child with that person, and it was quite a problem, right? Yeah,
it was. Being out of alignment, led me to being married for 15 years to a woman who was not vegan, and a great blessing to have that experience. So I also have 2 children with that woman and my previous marriage. And my children are a blessing, but they're also not vegan. So it gives me a very interesting perspective, a very direct perspective on how I need to create my relationships intentionally with absolute impeccable choice, to where my relationships reflect my exact lifestyle choices and vision of the world. So a shared vision and values and lifestyle. And so when I, met my current partner and we decided to partner together, we had completely aligned vision, values, and lifestyle. And I will tell you, having a partner with shared vision, values, and lifestyle is absolutely incredible. So we think alike, we see the world alike, we eat alike, there's no discrepancy. It is beautiful, it's amazing, I highly recommend it. And it also, she'll keep me on track with the raw vegan lifestyle. I keep her on track with the raw vegan lifestyle. So it feeds and is beautiful. You know, it's really beautiful. And I'm in a very blessed position. I'm extremely good friends with my ex-wife. We just did a podcast today. She has a podcast and she had me on and we talked about the place we're at now 2 years after our divorce and how we really don't blame each other. No blame. And this is part of the mindset of why I am who I am, is because I've gotten lucky with my ex-wife. She's an incredible human being. She helped me with my entrepreneurial journey. Her mindset is impeccable. And I learned some of her mindset. And she doesn't ever blame anybody, not even me after a failed marriage. She has never blamed me for anything. Isn't that incredible? So I'm extremely blessed to be able to have a best friend in an ex-wife and also a current partner who reflects the exact lifestyle I want to live. And this is not by accident. This is intentionally crafted. Yeah, maybe some, randomness thrown in there, like marrying somebody who wasn't vegan. I wasn't in an empowered place, to be honest, when I got married. And that was the result. That was the reflection back that I was not in alignment with myself when that happened. And so it had to unravel, it had to get painful, it had to transition. And it took 15 years for that alignment to come back. And that's all that's happened, is I was out of alignment 15 years ago, and I've come back into alignment. And my business and my relationships, my network, my service work, my health is all at a 10 out of 10. Literally, if I was going to rate myself, honestly, like literally, I'm not joking, give myself a rating 10, 1 to 10 on the pillars of health, love, money, and service. I'm a 10 out of 10 on all of them. And I'm very proud of that, because this is what I've been working toward. And just 5 years ago, I wouldn't be anywhere close to that, so it's an ongoing process. We're always a work in progress. It's never about being at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just about getting back into alignment. And we're always striving for that alignment, giving ourselves that 10 out of 10 score on love, money, health, and service. And so I've been working diligently to get all of my 4 success pillars. That's what I call them, is the pillars of fulfillment is what I call them. Because when you have those 4 pillars, 10 out of 10, your life is fulfilling, very fulfilling. So that's where I'm at now.
On the relationship, I'd like to ask you about, like for me, there's a reflection on like relationships between 2 people who are alive and are going to evolve. And of course, we want to be as compatible as possible when we get together in many ways. And I find it very important to build a relationship on important foundations. I mean, one myself, and we've discussed that a lot on the compatibilities. And at the same time, I've seen some couples who have been together for a while, and there's been evolution and maybe different lifestyles at some point, and still through the different lifestyles, love has remained, and support and acceptance has remained. So it's an interesting dance to me of like, yeah, of course, we want someone very compatible, but at the same time, I feel like the beauty and the aliveness of the relationship is that it's going to take us in some places where maybe there'll be things that stretched us a little bit, and that will accept that and still love that and support each other, and at least as long as it's aligned, stay together, even if like, for example, you want to have, let's say, yeah, you want to live part-time somewhere, so something changes, and supportive.
Yeah, absolutely. I've come to learn that relationships are a place that I come to give. And I think we start out coming to relationships to get. We get comfort, we get love, we get sex, we get our needs met through another person. But at this time in my life, I'm completely switched that 360 or 180, and that I only come to relationship to give. I am not concerned about my needs being met in the relationship because I meet my own needs. I am a man, and a masculine man especially. I believe that is part of the masculine polarity in a relationship dance, is to not need your woman to provide anything to you. You are the man, you provide. So that means you take care of yourself, and you make the money, and you provide the shelter, and you provide the sex and you provide the amazingness of the relationship. She should really be in a receptive position where she receives your giving. So I decided with my new partner after my marriage of 15 years that I was only going to give. And if I find myself falling back into the mental habits of wanting to receive, I would check myself. And so now I've been in my current relationship 2 years, and I do feel that that approach has been miraculous. It has been the secret I've been looking for my whole life, actually. And when I finally step into that personal leadership in that masculine polarity, I realized that it was in my control all along. It was just that I was weak. In my weakness, I wanted to be provided for in some capacity, love, money, sex, something. I needed something. And all of my relationships have failed. Now I have a sneaking suspicion. I have an intuitive feeling that this relationship that I'm currently in will be one that does not end, because every single day I'm coming to this relationship with a servant's heart. How can I serve my woman? How can I make her life better? Can I make more money to provide more comfort and security and fun and entertainment for her? It's the reason for me to be a man. It's the reason to make more money and to provide. And of course, my children too. But it's particularly fun with my love and romance partnership, because that could mean vacations, that could mean higher levels of personal security and financial stability, which really does feel good. And when you can share it with a partner like that, yeah, you might as well have a big ass house and take 4 vacations a year and have investments in the bank and just be taken care of. You know, it feels good. So it gives me that fuel to be the man, to step into my masculine polarity, and to not look for my woman to pay half the rent and to pay half the dinner bill. BS. My woman pays nothing. In fact, I told her when we got together, I said, if we get together, you cannot work. You cannot earn money unless I agree. And I know exactly what your intention is. And we agree ahead of time on what your work will be and the capacity to which you are working and making money. And so she does have a hobby, and I've allowed her to work in her hobby field, but for earning money, absolutely not. So that's an interesting perspective, because that was not the...
That might trigger some feminists.
It might, and let it, because this is how I found my empowerment. So people can find whatever level of empowerment they want, but just make sure you're empowered. Make sure it's serving both people. Make sure you're feeling good. Make sure you have the stability that you truly desire in your life. If you don't have those things, I'm not interested in your perspective, because I do have those things. So it's not a matter of like who's right and wrong. It's just the results we get.
Yeah. So I totally get the giving and wanting to be in the masculine and provide and taking that role. When you say like you're not allowed to work unless you have my permission, that feels a little bit controlling to me at first. So can you clarify why? And
yeah, no, it's not controlling. It's out of complete love and honoring of the polarities. So the feminine does not provide. So the only reason women have come to work is because they're trying to overcome men's inability to provide. So if we just take it back to the root, the man provides and the woman receives. That's the polarity, right? Provide, receive. So if we just take it back to the simple polarity, if a woman is trying to provide, then she is out of her feminine polarity. If a man's trying to receive, he's out of his feminine polarity or his masculine polarity. It's kind of that simple, you know?
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't want to take the responsibility, and we are indoctrinated by our modern society, and we get the results of that way of thinking. It's up to you. If you want those results, sure, do it. But
I mean, that feels to me like I agree with you, but that feels extreme in the way that there's like the man is, because often we say a male body might be like 70% masculine, 30% feminine. So for example, the woman could work a bit and she's actually fulfilled having some of a masculine done in the work. And then when you guys come together, then you want her to be in the polarity. So there is attraction. So at least for me, I feel in my relationship, that's something where there's a part of me that's feminine that might like certain feminine traits, and she has some masculine she likes sometimes to make money doing something, and but then if we need to find that balance where I'm more in the masculine and she's more, but it doesn't, at least to us, it doesn't need to be so like black and white.
That's good, Alex. Yeah, as long as it's providing the highest level of fulfillment and enjoyment in your dynamic and in your relationship and in your finances, because there's the 4 pillars of fulfillment: love, money, health, and service. And all of those have to be at a 10. So if you like your relationship dynamic, say your love dynamic is a 10 out of 10, but your finances are a 4 or 5 or 6 out of 10, it's not aligned fully. There's something off. You have to get all of them up and operating together, because of course we are integrated beings. So everything has to be operating together. I have found that giving my woman the permission not to work if she doesn't want to is where the real power is. I'll take care of it. Honey, you only work if you so choose. And we'll have a conversation about how you want to work, what kind of work you want to do. And it's not out of need. It's out of pure enjoyment, pure fulfillment.
Okay, but so permission not to work, but she can also work if she wants to. Like,
yeah. And my partner does have a part-time job working with children, and she volunteers at animal rescue centers and ways that she provides service and value, because that's meaningful to her. And that's what I provide to her, because she doesn't have to make money to pay the rent or pay the bills at all. In fact, I'm not going to let her pay the bills. That's my job. That's how I see it. Like it or not, I get the results I get. You get the results you get. I don't know. Take it or leave it.
Nice. Okay, we've gone for like an hour and 10 minutes. But it's been amazing. Great. Like I know we could have gone longer, but let's
good. It's a good conversation. Yeah. I love this conversation. All of the conversation we've had this talk has been really great. Thank you, Alex, for facilitating this talk today. Yeah. Thanks for bringing out the good dynamics of the conversation and giving me the opportunity to really talk into some of the nitty-gritty of the details. I love that.
I think it's going to be a really exciting opportunity for all your followers to know you like really deeper.
Yeah, I want to share this video on my channel. If you wouldn't mind, I'll upload this one to my YouTube channel for sure. I would love to, in fact.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and link your podcast and everything, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
So
thank you so much. I'll put the links, and that was a lot. So very grateful. And thank you to the listener, of course. If you like this video, listeners, please share the video, like, subscribe. And thank you so much for your time and attention and support. And I'll give you the last word, Shane.
Oh, let's see. Last word. Well, what I always encourage people to do is face their fears. Our greatness is on the other side of our fear. Any area in our life where we feel fear or shame is really just a signpost on the path to our empowerment, saying, go this way, go this way. So the thing you fear the most is literally your greatest opportunity waiting to happen. And so if we can just face our fears, we realize it was a phantom, we break through to the next level of our empowerment, and we can achieve more and more greatness that way. So our fears can feel really big and really real, but really it's just a manifestation of our own greatness waiting to happen. So face it, jump through the thresholds, let go of the old branch so you can grab onto the new branch. And then there's that in-between moment where you feel like you're going to die. That brings you face to face with all of your existential, deep-seated fears and belief systems. And that's where the real juice of life is. Letting go of that old branch before you grab onto the new branch, when you're in between and aren't sure, that's a powerful place. And I encourage everybody to mess it up, get messy, let yourself go there, and don't be afraid to let go of what's not working to achieve a 10 out of 10 in all areas of your life: love, money, health, and service. Go for it and create it, because it feels as good as you think it would.
Oh, thank you, Shane.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.